Hi, everyone, and welcome to TWF Monday Night Raw, or Monday Night Raw. Tony Schiavone, here with Trini Kwan, and with Corey Graves. And today on Monday Night Raw, or Monday Night Raw, we don't, we guess we're going to see, we don't know if we're going to be seeing Baron Corbin here today. His ongoing fight after he was fired as the main overseer of the TWF, and you saw him have two matches. Tony Schiavone said that couldn't have had to a greater man. Well, you're right about that, Tony. Trini Kwan said Baron Corbin brought it all on himself, making foes when he was the main overseer of the TWF, which did not go as long as everyone else. And sadly, Baron Corbin behaved the same way Shane Kamicki and Aries and Eric Bischoff and Lord Zed and Divatoxins and Kang and Luke Guy all behaved before him, Trini Kwan says. Well, I can tell you one thing, Tony and Trini, right now, Corey says. Baron Corbin, everybody likes to say that he was the worstest one we ever had. Oh, there was Shane Kamicki. Oh, there was Aries. There was Eric Bischoff and Lord Zed and Divatox. There was Kang. Then there was Luke Guy. And there was Baron Corbin. Everybody likes to say how bad he was. But at the end of the day, I like to think that he isn't as bad as everyone makes him out to be. Yeah, he made some bad calls. I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, he wasn't as bad as all of them. Corey Graves says, well, we're going to go, that might be your fodder belief or take, but we're going to go to ringside now, Tony Schiavone says, because the AEW heavyweight fighter, MJF, or Maxwell Jacob Friedman's here. Alright, so as you all know, I am the AEW heavyweight fighter, but I was a former two-time TWF heavyweight fighter. And I don't understand why I'm not engalled in the box. See, I don't understand it. Oh, Wonder Woman's in it. Godzilla or Gojora's in it. Oh, Kenny Omega and Johnny Gargano are in it. Why not me? You see, me and The Miz, we don't see eye to eye. We didn't get along, even when we were former TWF tag team fighters together. But I do understand where he's coming from. Someone needs to put me and Gald in the boundary right now before I lose it. Before I lose my cool. And no one out there wants to see me when I lose my cool. Well, Astronomer says, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, sorry about your Jewish thing coming off yourself. I am truly sorry about that. And not keeping on. We can guilt Bandai for we can guilt Jax for that. See, Astronomer says there's only so much room for folks to be engalled in the box. And while you were a former TWF heavyweight fighter 2 times, you didn't really hold the standard of the TWF heavyweight winnings. You see, MJF, I know all the things you do in AEW. What you did in the NWA and MLW and CZW before that. Yeah, you always cheat to keep your winnings. You always got something mean to say to someone, and you behave as if you're owed everything. Well, you're like The Miz. Yes, you are. In many ways, you're like him. But I'm going to tell you right now, MJF, those are the only folks we're putting in Gald in the boundary this year. If you want to make a big thing out of it, I can always put you in the match here today on Monday Night Raw or Alone Night Raw. Oh, that's big of you, Astronomer. That's big as you, Corone, to put me in a match. Oh, handicap me, weaken me, for bitching and ranting about the unfairness as I should be engalled in the boundary. Well, alright, there's a lot of wrestlers, fighters, overstars, whatever you want to call them, who have been in the TWF for years, who would, wish to be engalled in the boundary, as Geronimo says, and you don't really see them bitching or ranting. But that's funny, because the only ones I ever hear bitching and ranting about the unfairness is either The Miz, Baron Corbin, or you. Why is that? But I know what I can do here today. Since you're already in the ring, I can make a match, make a fight. You can be in it. And I'm thinking about, you should wrestle someone else who likes to bitch and rant about the unfairness of things. The man who, you teamed up with in the past. The man you shifted on not too long after that. Well, The Miz, if I can even seek him. Yeah, that's if you can even seek him. That's if you can seek him. That's if you can seek him, Geronimo. And I think what were you going to say about my elderling? What were you going to say about my daughter? Let me tell you something, MJF. You are not the first skilled fighter, skilled wrestler, skilled overstar to bitch about the unfairness of life, the unfairness of the writing, the unfairness of the booking. So today, you get to go one-on-one. You're going to go with Fight The Miz. Oh, so now, Astronema, this is it. The Miz says, you want me to fight MJF, the man who shifted on me about a year ago after we lost the TWF Tag Team winnings. No, Astronema says, yeah, but you and Maxwell Jacob Friedman here both bitch and rant about the unfairness of things. You bitch and rant about you're not getting on look for being the show player wrestler. He bitches about not getting any on look because for somehow, some way, he's been in many smaller wrestling businesses, and somehow him thinking that he's the AEW heavyweight fighter gives him a higher, makes him somehow he can't deal with the unfairness of things. So here today, The Miz, MJF wrestle here today. So bitch and rant about that. Bitch about how it's sinful and unlawful for you two to be wrestling, and how it's so unfair and wrong. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's only room for need be 2 more wrestlers, 2 more fighters, overstars, to be in Gal in the Boundary. So it's between you two, between The Miz and MJF, and 1 other wrestler. Oh, that's right, Astronema. I didn't forget, The Miz says. You felt sorry for Johnny Nergato and unput it into Gal in the Boundary after he lost his match to Kenny Omega by reckoning out, The Miz says. Oh, you're still bitching, still ranting, huh? You should be thankful that you're in a match, that you got the opening, the luck, the time. Now let's go. Well, we just heard from Astronema. We just heard from Astronema and Ecliptor, or Ecliptor, that we just heard from Astronema that MJF and The Miz are going to be wrestling here today, fighting here today on Monday Night Raw, and the winner gets to be unput to the Gal in the Boundary match. Well, the Fight Lords in the ring now. The Fight Keepers in the ring now. MJF took off his Jewish scarf, or whatever the English word for that he's wearing. And The Miz fell down. Oh, and MJF going right after The Miz. It's not the first time we have seen The Miz and MJF in the same ring together. They did team up together last year when they were the TWF Tag Team Fighters before they lost and they had their match. Tony Schiavone said, and whatever weird looking whatever slam on the Miz. Tony Schiavone said, yeah, Trini Kwan said, MJF was already had a name for being a bully and a heel and a creep even before he got to the TWF. And the Miz and MJF thought they'd gotten along because they both behaved the same way. But then again, bullies and heels and creeps do not like each other because each one sees themselves as the baddest one. Trini Kwan says, I can tell you one thing, Corey Graves says, The Miz is greater than MJF. The Miz has been wrestling a lot longer than MJF. Even though I will say that MJF does have the same bond that The Miz is in, not getting any on-look for anything he's done. Yes, he might be the AEW heavyweight fighter, but The Miz was a two-time WWE heavyweight fighter. He was a former DSW heavyweight fighter. He was a former 4-1 Rex fighter 2 times. He was a former at least 7-time 7-time Interlander fighter, former WWE Tag Team fighter, both Raw and SmackDown won. He was a Gal in a Box winner 2 times, Gal in a Boundary winner 2 times. Oh, and right now The Miz just dropped at MJF with the skull smashing end. Will that be enough for the so-called wrestler show player, The Miz? Tony Schiavone said, we'll see, Trini Kwan says. 1, 2, and MJF just kicked out. Well, why are you calling him the so-called show player wrestler? He is a wrestler. He is a show player. Yeah, he was in a lot of WWE films, but that didn't make him none less a show player, you know. And he was in the MTV or Song Farsi or Folkworks old show, The True World, which offshoot of it, I don't know. And right now, The Miz in a bun right now. Corey Graves said, so The Miz is a wrestler and a show player. That's something MJF can't say he is. He's only a wrestler, or a fighter, or an overstar. And it looks like The Miz has had enough. And The Miz looks like he's had enough. Alright, I've had enough. Look, MJF, we shouldn't be fighting each other. We shouldn't be wrestling each other. We should be working together. You see, Astronema, Corone, whatever you want to call her, she put us against each other. It's a way to weaken us. It's a way to handicap us. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't reckon me out yet, Fight Lord. Well, get back in the ring. Alright, MJF says. So, Miz, you think we should both work together? Because you said Astronema or Corone is against us, and she wants to weaken us and handicap us. Well, then how's that going to work, Miz? Because only one man can win this match. Only one man can win this fight. Only one man's going to go on to galled in the boundary. Either you or me. And let me tell you something, Miz. You like to bitch about the unfairness of things. You bitch about how no one on looks you for being a wrestler and a show player. About being a husband and a father. Well, no one on looks me either, Miz, for those same things. So why should you get any on look? Son of a bitch. MJF right now has got The Miz. Oh, it's over. The Miz is going to lose to MJF, Tony Schiavone says. Well, Trini Kwan said, looks like The Miz wanting to make a bond with Maxwell Jacob Friedman did not happen, Trini Kwan said. I don't think The Miz would have been dumb enough, or MJF would have been dumb enough to trust each other. Oh no, Trini. Oh no, Corey said Trini Kwan. Oh no, come on. You two shouldn't be wrestling. You two shouldn't be fighting. You should be fighting and wrestling against Astronema, Corey Graves says. 1, 2, 3. Ding ding ding. Here is your winner. And also now also engalled in the boundary, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Sucks to be a WWE wrestler, doesn't it? And you stop falling down. Hey, you want me to undo it? You want me to throw the match out after you flamed me? Yeah, I dare you. So then I can go around and say you did it since I was Jewish. It had nothing to do with your worship being Jewish or not. Hey, you dropped me on my... knocking me down. Well, it looks like MJF, or Maxwell Jacob Friedman, we don't know if he'll ever come to WWE or not. We don't know if Ariel Adele or Patrick Whitewell will ever bring him into WWE. We don't know if Vincent McMahon or Nicholas Kong or Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the leadership. We don't know if they'll ever bring him in. But we can only hope that Ariel Adele and Patrick Whitewell bring him into WWE someday. But sadly, The Miz has lost his match, Tony Schiavone says. Here today, MJF is in Gal in the Boundary, along with Wonder Woman, along with Godzilla or Godzilla, along with Johnny Gargano, along with Kenny Omega, Tony Schiavone says. Well, I can think there might be one more man or woman who will be in Gal in the Boundary. Tony Schiavone said, we just don't know who that man or woman will be. Well, Trini Kwan said, one more wrestler, one more fighter, one more overstar is going to be in it. We just don't know who it's going to be, Trini Kwan says. Well, that's sad. That is sad, Corey Graves said, that The Miz will not be in Gal in the Boundary this year, giving to the grounds that he is a two-time WWE Gal in the Boundary fighter. Winner, which is truly sad. You know, MJF never really did that much, didn't really do shit all in MLW and NWA and ZCW or AEW. That's really bad, Corey Graves says. It is unfair. I wouldn't say it's sinful and unlawful, but I would say it's wrong and unfair, Corey Graves goes. Well, speaking of being unfair, Michael Cole now gets to either talk with The Miz or Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Alright, Tony Schiavone, I'm going to be talking with Maxwell Jacob Friedman, or known as MJF to his friends if he's got any. Today on Monday Night Raw. MJF, fuck. Why do I wear this thing? Alright, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, you are now in Gal in the Boundary, along with Wonder Woman, Johnny Gargano, Kenny Omega, and Godzilla, or Godzilla. And sadly, I think that a bully, heel, and a creep like you should not be in it. Hey, Astronomer gave me an opening, and I took it. I beat The Miz. So either you would be bitching about me or The Miz. It wouldn't work, right? Alright, so I'm in Gal in the Boundary now. I'm fighting Wonder Woman, some well-known good doer from the Warner Brothers Discovery DC world. I'm fighting Godzilla or Godzilla, some well-known good doer, sometimes evil doer from the Hodo, Sony, Warner Brothers, Legendary Films self. And I'm fighting Johnny Gargano, too good to be in AEW, and Kenny Omega, which was be earnest. He's not as good as everyone makes him out to be. Oh, but you are. I mean, yeah, you did win the AEW heavyweight winnings from Dean Ambrose, who won it for the third time. But you done nothing but cheating. Look, we're talking about what I did in WWE. Or what I did in TWF, my mistake. I'm a former two-time TWF heavyweight fighter, and if I win Gal in the Boundary, then I can become a three-time TWF heavyweight fighter. So Mora, that Disney self needs to watch out before she is my next beaten. And I don't care if I gotta beat Wonder Woman or Godzilla, Johnny Gargano, Kenny Omega, whoever the next man or woman they put in Gal in the Boundary. Well, shit. That's my talk with MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Back to you, Tony Schiavone. Thank you, Michael Cole, for talking with Maxwell Jacob Friedman here today on Monday Night Raw, or Alone Tonight Raw. And that's all the time we got here for Monday Night Raw, or Alone Tonight Raw. I, Tony Schiavone, Trini Kwan, and Corey Graves. We hope you like Monday Night Raw or Alone Tonight Raw. And we'll see you tomorrow for NXT.